Got another guest. While ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa continues to defend former Health Minister Zweli Mkhize's legacy, the fact remains the Special Investigating Unit has found that Mkhize acted illegally and benefited from the dodgy Digital Vibes communications deal. And this dark cloud, especially in the midst of a deadly pandemic, may well hang over the ANC's head as it edges towards elections. But given the history of state capture and other acts of corruption, does the Digital Vibes saga even dent the governing party's chances at the polls? We've asked leading political commentator Professor Bheki Mngomezulu to contemplate this. Prof, thank you so much for joining us. You know, I wonder what effect it's going to have on the polls, considering many people out there say that they don't feel that there are better alternatives.
No, thank you very much for having me, my sister, and good morning to your listeners. Honestly speaking, this is not the first time that the ANC is experiencing some challenges. But then, given the fact that the ANC is represented nationally, I don't think that if there were to be some effects on the ANC, those effects will be enough for to displace the ANC as the governing party. The reason I'm saying this is because if you look at the opposition political parties, more especially the official opposition, the DA, and the third party, that is the EFF, and of course a party like the IFP, they are more dominant in certain provinces, but they don't have equal representation nationally. So which means then that even if the ANC were to have challenges emanating from the SIU report, I don't think that those effects will be enough to displace the ANC. So I think that the ANC, of course, has to rejoice in the fact that it enjoys the majority of support in the country, but then should not be complacent in terms of doing things the right way. So I think it's a learning curve, but I don't think that the impact will be dire as other people, in fact, anticipate that the ANC might even lose even the 2024 election. I don't hold that view, at least not for now.
Prof. Mngomezulu, what about the timing of the release of the report? Do you think that it was carefully timed to be just far away enough from the 1st of November? We've got very short memories here in South Africa because there are just so many scandals coming at us the whole time.
Yeah, it's a bit of a concern that the president received the report almost 3 months ago and has not released it. But then if you look at it from the other end, you might say that the president needed to study the report and study it carefully, especially given the interest that the nation has on the report. Because if we were to rush releasing the report, having not satisfied himself with the contents, and then some of the people in the media space would be asking him questions which he would not be in a better position to answer if he had not read the report thoroughly. So I think we can give him the benefit of the doubt and say he wanted to satisfy himself. Having done so, then he felt the time is right now to release the report. Some would say, in fact, this is a disadvantage because he's releasing the report just on the eve of the local government election. But others would say it's a good move that he's releasing it now, long before the 2022 elections of the ANC. So it all depends on how one interprets it. But then I don't think at the moment I would be in a position to say maybe the president has broken the law or the president has acted in an in an unlawful manner, because it's within his right to study any report that lands on his table, and then once he's satisfied himself, then he has to release to the nation, because the nation deserves to know what has happened.
With Zweli Mkhize placed on leave and then he being able to resign, do you think that that was a cowardly move on the president's side? And what really are the implications of him no longer being in government from a punitive point of view?
That is a very interesting question, because we have the Zweli Mkhize issue, the Dr. Zweli Mkhize issue, on the backdrop of the Mapisa Ngagula issue. You would recall that there was an instance where the then Minister of Defense, Mapisa Ngagula, was accused of wrongdoing, and then as a punishment, the president then indicated that a part of her salary will be cut. Some people were saying that this was just a slap on the face, but the president said, you have to go for one of the two. The first one will be a punitive measure, and the other one will be a corrective measure. So in his stance, you don't necessarily send people to the gallows, but you try to make sure that they don't repeat the same mistake again. So in other words, you are opting for the curative measures in the sense that you are explaining, or you are in fact bringing to the attention of the affected person that what you have done is wrong, but then we can't kill you. We'll still need you in future. There is something that can still be done to try and salvage the situation. So the same applies to Dr. Zweli Mkhize. When the heat was there, you recall that other political parties were putting pressure on the president to relieve him of his duties. So then when it was clear that the momentum was gaining, then of course Dr. Zweli Mkhize saw it fit to rather resign than being axed from the cabinet, which I think for me was a wise move, because if you resign, you still retain some integrity. But then if you are fired, people are going to look at you in a negative light. So I think it was a good move politically.
All right, thank you so much. Political commentator, Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, thank you so much for your time this morning.